This week, we're finishing The Winter's Crime by Marie Rutkowski, otherwise known as Aaron Goes and Fucks Off.
Hi, readers. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, Season 2, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines of any genre. Because that's what we do now.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book. We're still talking about these books.
We have realized we may have overcommitted to these books, or at least to recording these books. There's only so much we can talk about.
Yeah. I just imagine people are listening to the podcast and they're like, they're still talking
on
about
this
these
trilogy
fucking...
again.
It's like, okay, you guys love Kestrel. I get it.
But keep in mind, I think we did 6 or 7 hours for Crown Duel.
That is true. Those were the OG times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that book deserved it, but also like we could have shut up at any point.
Yeah. We did not need like an 11-page script for each episode, which is what we did.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun to revisit that and be like, there's like one episode's worth here.
Yeah.
Like, see. Yeah. So we'll trim this a little bit shorter than first.
Our game plan is what we're going to do, maybe 1, potentially 2 more episodes for The Winter's Crime.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will close out the trilogy with 1 final dedication episode to the final book, The Winter's Kiss.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of boring, so it works out.
Yeah. That was the one book I kind of like, I'm going to zone out a little bit on this one.
Nice. We have the end is in sight. Don't
It's coming, readers.
Don't
Thanks
quit
for
on us.
sticking with us.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about Kestrel some more. Anyways.
More parties.
I still love her.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Because especially, so this first, like where we're starting in the episode, she goes to a party and the Emperor's there and there's a bunch of like courtiers and everybody's like talking, hee. And then Kestrel.
I mean,
like, fake laughter. But Kestrel gets pulled over to talk to the Emperor and he's like, Kestrel, my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, come talk to me and all of my like old man friends. And they're talking about how they would end the, war in the East against the savages or whatever. And they all toss out these ideas. And then they're kind of basically talking about like a genocide.
Yes.
Like starving.
They want to set the plains on fire and burn everyone out.
Yeah. And Kestrel's like, oh my God, you're talking about like murdering a lot of people. Let me like try to come up with something marginally less horrible. And instead she comes up with something a little bit more war crimey. She's like, let's just poison all their horses.
Yeah. And so they have no livelihood and nothing to eat and no way to get around. And then they'll have to follow you because what else are they going to do?
Kestrel, honey, like, I know you're trying to like keep people from like totally dying, but like, girl, that is a war crime.
This is the lesser of two evils argument, which is, I think, the only way Kestrel could have made progress. But can we just talk about how awesome it is that despite the Emperor having his little old man club, there was no why not include the woman?
I know.
Let's obviously ask her opinion because she's the daughter of a famous general. She's been educated in strategy. She's going to have a good idea because she has good ideas. There was nothing about like, oh, she's a woman or, oh, she's going to be a princess. So no, none of that. It was like a legitimate acknowledgement of her skills as a strategist, including her, which is so cool because how often do we read in fantasy romance, I have to overcome all of these toxic masculinity? And
because I feel like that's an argument made for George R.R. Martin's book is like, this is a fantasy land. Why do you have like ingrained misogyny? Like, just don't have that. And this kind of doesn't. It's like, oh yeah, Kestrel's a crazy person. Like, bring her over. And then she brought the crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also like she was thinking on her feet because they're like, you have to come up with something like pretty fucked up. And she's like, let me pick the least fucked up. Maybe.
They're going to invade no matter what. They're going to send a whole legion of soldiers there. They're going to kill people. But what's the way that they're going to kill the least amount of people?
Yeah. They're like, that's a good idea, Kestrel.
We're going to do that. And Kestrel's like, oh, shit, I don't like being responsible for that, but.
Yeah. But then at the end, he kind of like pulls her over to the side and basically tells her, like, a princess doesn't have jobs, really, so you're no longer the emissary to Heron. And she's like, what? That's, like, not really what we agreed to. And he's like, too bad, because, like, you keep putting yourself in these very compromising, situations with lover boy Aaron. You cannot keep doing that, my girl. And so she's like, okay, I guess that's fine. And then we get this very emotional turmoil scene in a library.
Yeah. I'm reading her description about it right now.
Because, like, Kestrel's just off by herself in the library early in the morning, and she's like, nobody can bother me in here. And Aaron shows up, and he continues to bother her, and he's like, why are you acting this way?
I have no words. I'm going to step out for a second.
Because, like, Kestrel's like, bro, like, I am trying to save your fucking life, and you're making this really hard. And he's like, you're acting crazy. Like, I know you keep lying. You're being stupid. Basically, it gets kind of, like, personal towards the end. And he's like, you're being a crazy bitch. Like, you're totally ignoring all of these, like, colonies that have been enslaved by your people. Like, don't you realize that, like, you're kind of being the baddie right now? And she's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm trying to save your life. Yeah.
The whole accusation of willful blindness.
Yeah.
That kind of hits home real hard for Kestrel. And it's so hard to read this scene because you just want to kind of bitch slap Aaron. Because Kestrel is doing what she can. And, like, I get it, right? Like, Aaron isn't smart enough to put all the pieces together. Like, she's deliberately lying to him and keeping things from him because that's the only way to, like, protect her, protect him, protect the future of Heron. And yet he still does these dumb things, like this whole library scene. One, which is risky. He shouldn't be alone with her. He knows that. She knows that. And he keeps forcing it to happen. And then he knows she's Valorian. He knows that she's engaged to the Emperor, son. What the fuck else does he expect her to do?
Yeah.
Like,
yep. And it kind of drives home the whole conversation that Kestrel and Tenzin, the spy lead or whatever, talked about, where they kind of came to the mutual understanding that Aaron absolutely would not do the right thing at, like, his personal grievance. That's not a word.
It's absolutely not a word, but I like it.
He would always, like, pick Kestrel over his country, and they're both like, that's not the right decision.
That's not how the world works. That's not how a leader works.
Yeah, and then Aaron just continues to prove it true, and Kestrel's like, my guy, I love you, but also you're making this so fucking hard.
But it's also in this scene where we get Kestrel actually commits to being a spy.
Yeah.
For Tenzin. She has this kind of internal battle with herself. Like, do I need to do this? Is this the right thing? And she's like, fuck it. Yes, I'm going to do it. And so the moths.
Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about what happened to the moths in the last time?
Don't know.
I don't know that we talked about it.
We could give a quick summary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before all of this happened, when Kestrel was getting ready for the ball, or after the ball, her maids came to her and said, hey, there's these masker moths that got into your wardrobe and destroyed a bunch of dresses. There's eggs everywhere and moths everywhere, and so they had to throw a bunch of dresses out. So Kestrel at the time was like, that's an interesting little thing I can take advantage of, which fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
She captures like a cocoon of masker moth eggs, and then she keeps them in a jar on like a dressing table and like gives them just enough air that they can keep growing and be happy, and puts that aside, just puts it in her pocket for a little bit. And then these little masker moths grow up and come out of the cocoon, and she's got a collection of moths, which is a little creepy, a little
100%.
weird.
It's like, girl, you're crazy.
But the cool thing with these moths is they're like chameleons.
Mm-hmm.
They change color to match wherever they're at on the wall. I want that.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So as she's like committing to being a spy, she has to figure out a way to signal Tenzin that she's got information for him and that they need to meet. And so there's an art gallery in the palace, and she takes one of her little moths that just hang out on her sleeve, and she puts it right on the corner of one of the paintings. And so she's standing in front of the paintings with Tenzin one of these days and points to the moth and says, if you see one of these things, like, that's your cue. We'll meet in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Hoo-hoo.
Brilliant.
Honestly, brilliant on Kestrel as the character, but then also brilliant on Marie Rutkowski to, like, come up with that. Because, like, girl, like, are you a spy?
Yeah, because it addresses the whole question of what if someone catches the moth? Oh, it's a moth. It's a normal bug. Of course, it's just gonna be hanging out. Someone would just write that off.
Mm-hmm.
Because they change color even if they're dead.
Yeah. Because that was kind of the fucked up part is like she killed them all. It was a very Kestrel moment. Like she felt bad about it, but she's like, I have to do this. And then all the lost died. It's like, oh, that's Kestrel in a nutshell. I don't even really know what happens after that because it's just a bunch of scenes of like progressively things falling apart around Kestrel.
Yeah, the net is kind of closing in on her because the Emperor is picking up on all these things. He knows that Kestrel met Aaron in the library and he asks her about it and she lies and says that she never met Aaron. And Emperor's like, haha, I caught you.
Oopsie. Because I think the next one is the Emperor kind of realizes that Aaron is the crux of all of these issues that he's facing with Kestrel. And so he tries to get him murdered in a dark hallway. And then Aaron at the last second has some kind of like divine intervention thing. I didn't quite understand like who was saving him from up above.
But the dude who attacks Aaron kind of fumbles a little bit and gives Aaron the opportunity to grab a knife and fight back.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron kills him.
Yeah. Yes, except Aaron gets like a big old gash.
Dashing scar across his face. It's supposed to be disfiguring, but ultimately just makes him look like a pirate.
Nice. Hot.
Yeah, always hot.
Anyways, but also the sort of like devastating part of this attempted murder is that the knife that was supposed to kill Aaron is the one that Kestrel got taken from her and replaced.
The Emperor. Yep. And
interesting.
Aaron's like, I recognize this knife. I'm just going to keep that in my pocket for a little while. Thank God Aaron was like, I recognize that Kestrel would not actually order an attack on me.
Honestly.
Like, if he can figure that shit out, like, why can't he figure out the rest of it? But whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yep. After that, Kestrel decides to, like, escape for a while. Because she has intent.
Okay, there's a subplot going on. There's
the Senate.
Yeah, there's a mystery going on. So we kind of talked about this in the last episode, where the people of Harran are starving, and because they're being taxed, all their exports are going back to the capital. But as Aaron is meeting with his cousin, he notices that she's looking very like drawn and exhausted, and like more so than is warranted given their situation. So it's a little weird. And then meanwhile, seemingly completely unrelated, there's all of these bets going on about what dress Aaron is going to wear. Not Aaron.
We love a progressive homie.
what dress Kestrel is going to wear for her wedding. So that's a citywide bet. Like there's a lot of money invested in this. And then there is the senator thing who took a ship to Harran.
Yeah, because he came back tan, and Kestrel's like, that's us.
You came back tan and you didn't bring anything back with you.
Yeah, because his daughter was complaining about it. And Kestrel's like, oh, that's weird. Like, you didn't bring back any goodies for your daughter? Like,
I feel like we're not doing justice to the complexity of this plot.
We're 100% not, because I didn't even really understand what was going on until the end.
It's good, and I think you understand as you're reading it, but it is hard to explain all of these different layers of activity going on because the characters are figuring it out themselves as you're reading it, and even you don't quite. It's hard to predict.
Yeah, because it's all just like minuscule little hint dropping. It's kind of like, did you ever watch The Glass Onion on Netflix? Where it's like all these little tidbits and you're like, this is going to be important later, but like, I don't know what this is now. And then at the end, you're like, oh shit, like, tell me more, Daniel Craig. Yep. That's this book where you're like, tell me more, Kestrel.
And that's why you keep reading and reading and reading.
Yeah. So just like bear with us.
Yeah. Kestrel's trying to figure out, I think her first mystery is trying to figure out why this senator took a ship to Harran and didn't bring anything back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because that's why she's going to the city is to investigate the dock guy. Yeah.
So she borrows a dress from one of her maids. She's very sly about it. She's like, oh, mine is like, she spills water on herself. Yeah. And so she just, just let me take your dress and you can take one of mine, and writes it off.
Just imagine the maid. She's like, I walked in with a shitty dress and I walked out with like money for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And this is Kestrel's opportunity to escape into town. She leaves one of her moths for or not yet. She doesn't leave a moth for Tenson yet. Because she needs to go out to get information. So she goes down to the docks and she finds like a sailor to question and flirt with and get some information about. And she confirms that the senator's ship went to Harran and didn't bring anything back, basically. And then as she's
Oh, yeah. She has this like Titanic moment where she's like looking out into the water.
Yeah.
And Aaron is coincidentally also trying to get information about the bedding. And then he sees her in the distance and he's like, wow, what is that like little like maid doing? Just like looking all wistfully out.
Something about her just speaks to me, and he gets closer and closer. Oh my God, it's Kestrel.
Weird. What are you doing here? Oh my God. It's almost as if you guys are like soulmates.
It's like the author threw in some romantic tropes to keep the readership going.
100%. Because it also seems like it's going to be kind of like an ACOTAR moment where Tamlin and Feyre kind of get their moment together, and then oh no, the whole court walked in while they're trying to fuck or whatever. It kind of felt like that, where it's like they get their little moment of love together and it's like, you guys don't actually hate each other and you're both in love. But then we get this fucking absolutely devastating.
Gut-wrenching. Okay, well, one, even before the gut-wrenching scene, there's like a slight gut-wrenching. It's like a punch to the side. Aaron sees the maid from a distance, gets a little bit closer, walks away, comes back. Something in the back of his mind is like, there's something weird about her. And he comes back and he gets close enough to recognize her. But like at the time, as you're reading it, you don't know if he's going to go back enough. Like that is this so...
Yep. And it's like the scenes are short and choppy too. So you get like one POV and then you get the other POV and Kestrel's like starting to leave. And then it's Aaron like, maybe I should go back. And it's like, turn around, motherfucker, go!
And he does.
Yeah.
And then they have this romantic moment looking out of the water. And he's like, one last game of bite and sting with me. And she says yes.
Yep.
And they go to, and she's like, well, how about in a week? And he's like, how about right now?
Yep.
And so they go to a tavern and they take a corner table. He gets some wine, gives her a glass of wine, doesn't drink any for himself right out of the way. They set up their game. And as they're playing, a moment of silence for the tragedy.
The love that could be.
That could be and does not happen. The topic about the horses in the plains comes up somehow.
He asks her first, like, you could marry the prince, but you could love me in private.
Okay.
God. I wish we had the direct quote from it because it fucks you up. Because he's like, I know you have to marry him, but maybe you could love me in private. Like, oh my God, girl.
They start off the game and he wants to make a bet. Like their very first game of Bite and Sting. They want some terms to set. He offers to leave the city forever, like basically get on a ship and never return because that's what she wants. Or she has to answer any question that he asks. Queries. So they play a few rounds. Kestrel is a little loose and tipsy because she's kind of off her game. One, she didn't expect to run into Aaron. Two, she's having a glass of wine, which she doesn't really drink a lot. So she's not playing at her best. So halfway through the game, it's going well. Like neither one of them is clearly winning. And Aaron goes up to the bar to get another drink. And as he's at the bar, he overhears a conversation between two senators. And the senators are talking about how they were successful in the Eastern Plains defeating the savages because of this brilliant idea that Lady Kestrel came up with to poison the horses. And so Aaron is listening to this and
he like comes back and like accuses her, doesn't he?
Well, he simmers on it for a little bit. Yeah. So he sits down and he approaches the game from a new perspective. And she doesn't quite understand that something's wrong. But his whole demeanor has changed. He is angry. And it's the first time you really see Aaron completely anti-Kestrel.
Yeah. Because I feel like this is kind of his turning point. Like before that, he kind of thought Kestrel was just doing what she had to survive, and like he almost kind of believed in like a happy ending for them until this point.
There's always a sliver of doubt. Like there's got to be some hidden motivation for Kestrel until he realizes, oh, she's a Valorian and she's cold-blooded and ruthless and will murder people.
Yeah, this whole scene is just so sad because it's one of those like, you guys could be happy, you're ruining it. And they proceed to ruin it.
Yeah. He wins the game and he asks her if she was the one who came up with the plan to poison the horses. And she says, well, yeah.
Obviously you would.
What more do you like? She tries to explain it, but even she can't explain it because it's one of those lesser of two evil situations. Like there's no explaining evil. And so he
just loses his goddamn mind.
Yeah. And he leaves. He's like, all right, peace, bitch.
Oh, it just makes your heart hurt because it's one of those like, Poor Kestrel.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's also a moment too when he's like asking to be his lover in the dark or her lover in the dark or whatever, and she says no, and he's like, "Oh, is it because of my like face now? I have this like gory scar," and she says yes because she's like trying to get him to go fuck off, but it's like, don't tell him he's ugly.
Well,
he's a cutie pie.
So she says yes because she feels guilty that he was hurt because of her.
Oh yeah, God, they just hurt each other so much.
I'm here for it though. I love it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like
I'm soaking in this.
This is the tension that you want between two romantic interests. Like you want a will they, won't they until the very end. We talked about this with Rob during Twilight.
Yeah.
Why that, as bad as it is, why it works, why you keep reading is because you're always uncertain of whether they're actually going to get together or not. You know in the back of your mind it's going to work out well, but there has to be enough doubt and build up in tension, and love it.
Because I will say, at the end of the first one, when they're like, oh my God, we're going to end up together, and like Edward Robert Pattinson kind of gives her a look, you're like, they're not going to end up together? Squeeze me? And then the next movie is just,
hi, Jacob.
I am going to go watch those movies again after this. Anyways, I love Twilight. Anyway.
Are they still doing the remake?
I don't know if I'll ever watch it either. I'm kind of a diehard, traditionalist. Oh my God. Did you? Okay, we're totally off topic. Hayley Williams, she was
Paramore.
From Paramore, Decode, which is the song for Twilight. She was at a concert. Suki Waterhouse, which is Robert Pattinson's wife. They just had a baby. They were at the concert. I think it was for the Eras tour, Taylor Swift. Hayley Williams on stage is like, Suki, I have to find the direct quote, but she's like, Suki, I love you. But Mr. Waterhouse, this song is for you. This is the skin of a killer Bella. And then she sings Decode. Oh my God. Brass balls of her to call Robert Pattinson Mr. Waterhouse. Like I ate that shit up. I love it. Like, demean him. Oh my God. What a power move.
That was, I'm going to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
I got all tingly.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Call him your name. Oh. Anyways, I feel like that's kind of a Kestrel thing, too.
Oh.
Like, Aaron is for sure Mr. Kestrel.
Oh, buddy.
I know. You're just a cuteness in the relationship.
He's a golden retriever.
Oh, 100%. Kestrel's like the big scary German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Anyways, the devastation continues because Aaron just goes to the Emperor and he's like, I'm gonna leave, and he leaves, and then
the Emperor is very pleased because he sees that Aaron doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, he's like, my evil plans have worked out. Mwahaha.
And Kestrel meets Tensin later and delivers her message, doing her good work as a spy for the Heron people. And Heron is clueless.
Yep.
I didn't like Tensin.
I didn't either. And I almost wonder if that's kind of
deliberate,
intentional.
Yeah.
Because he is one of those characters that realizes that Aaron is stupid in love and needs to be manhandled to do the right thing, which kind of sad, but also I get it.
But Tensin and Aaron come up with a plan because Aaron goes to him and says, hey, I'm leaving for the Eastern Lands. I'm going to get support, because they realize that they need an alliance outside of Valorian, because Heron being a colony under the Emperor is not going to work. So Aaron's dumb plan is to get on a boat and sail to the Eastern Lands, which are ruled by a queen that is kind of, I want to say this country, this empire is on par with Valorian. It's just geographically, they're never going to be in a position to like battle each other. So it's kind of like stalemate a little bit. But they have like a thou shalt not enter our territory thing for like outsiders. So for Aaron to be like, I'm going to sail to this foreign land and ask the queen for help.
A little bit stupid.
Well, the tricky thing too is the queen's little sister is the hostage princess that Prince Ferrix is kind of in love with.
Ooh, no.
Oh, there's also the subplot that Aaron thinks the princess is the spy.
Oh, yeah. And Kestrel kind of encourages that misunderstanding.
And so does Tensin. Yeah. And the princess is cool. And so Aaron thinks like, oh, this super secret spy that's been helping Heron is this captive hostage princess. And oh, how convenient. She's beautiful.
It's funny because that would be the plot of a romance book by itself. But it's like Marie Rutkowski's like, no, we're going to make this way fucking cooler. And that's not the actual romance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh.
But Aaron believes it.
Yep. Yeah. Aaron. Sweet.
Dumb
summer child.
Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaron goes and fucks off, almost dies.
Aaron goes and fucks off.
I mean, like, that's his whole subplot is him goes.
I'm going to stop for a second. Hold on. So Aaron takes a very long boat ride.
Yes.
And he gets to the point where he gets close enough where he can row into the eastern lands, into their like harbor. I pictured Venice.
I did
there's
too.
Like canals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just him because he's going to get captured immediately. It's illegal for foreigners to enter this country. And
I love that Aaron thinks that nothing
I'm
bad
the
is.
exception to the rule.
I know.
I feel like that's a pretty privilege thing.
Oh, Aaron has pretty privilege. 100% true.
And he rows in, he gets through the canals, people are staring at him because obviously. And he's immediately captured.
Yeah. Except it turns out that the creepy, noseless, earless guy that captures him was a slave that Aaron kind of helped not get beat to a pulp.
Yeah.
When he was also a slave.
10 years ago, this slave tried to escape and Aaron like saved him a little bit or tried to save him unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
And the slave eventually escaped at a later point. But Aaron remembers him because he was there when his ears and nose were cut off.
Yeah. Which is crazy because I think this is first introduced in like midway through the first book.
Yeah.
Like this was like
you get this flashback way early on in the series.
And then he comes back.
And the dude, the slave who appears in Aaron's cell after he wakes up after getting, knocked out because he was captured. He's like, hey, I'm your translator because no one else here speaks your language because you are in a foreign land and you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Aaron tries to like fight back in the cell and does not win.
No.
So pay attention to this point, readers. The translator has a ring on and he like reaches up to Aaron's face and like touches him with the ring and there's like a little pokey thing and it just knocks Aaron out right away. It's poison.
I love that Aaron really like did not go anywhere into this land without just like operating off of pure vibes.
Yeah.
Like he had no plan. He was just like,
I'm just going to pray and hope that someone helps me.
Yeah. And the guy, his name is like Dakran, right? Or Dakran.
That's the name of
the slave guy.
That's the name of the language.
What? Oh, what is the guy's name?
Roshar.
Oh, yeah. I like that he immediately is calling Aaron out. He's like, you came here with no plan, my guy. Like, you're obviously going to die. And Aaron's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm going to kill you. Like, you're dead.
I loved Roshar as a character.
I did too.
He was so fun. Well, Aaron wakes up again, and he's on like a little paddle boat again. And he's getting rowed to an audience with the queen.
Yeah.
And this is hilarious. So he goes before the queen. The queen's like, well, there's like 3 crimes that you committed. You brought a foreign weapon into our land. You came into our land. And then you attacked a member of the royal family.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron's like, excuse me? Like, I didn't attack shit except for your guards who attacked me first. And then he looks at Roshar, and Roshar is the queen's brother.
Oops.
Uh-oh. And so the queen, like, delegates to Roshar. He's like, well, he's the one who attacked you, so you can decide his punishment. And Roshar's like, I'm going to sit on that for a little bit. I'll come up with this punishment later. And he kind of taunts Aaron with that for, like, the next book, like, 1.5 books.
Doesn't he come up with, like, progressively more fucked up ways that he's going to kill Aaron?
Yeah. But they have such a great bromance.
Oh, yeah. Because we don't have to go into, like, total detail about what Aaron gets up to in this. But at one point, Roshar, like, saves a baby tiger and decides to name it Aaron.
Yeah.
And
it's the best thing ever.
And he's like, I'm actually going to have Aaron maul you to death, Aaron. And it's like, that's very you.
Well, after his audience, Aaron it's not a deal with the queen. The queen's like, well, you're going to stay here. We're not letting you leave.
Yeah.
And Aaron makes his case like, please, like, align yourselves with Heron. Like, together we can defeat the empire. And the queen's like, no, we're not.
I'm like, not really interested in that.
Why would we do that? Because you're a tiny little colony and you can offer us nothing.
Yeah.
And so Aaron's like, oh, I'm going to find a way to convince you. I will create something. I will do something that will bring you to our side. And so he spends months in this eastern lands, becoming friends with Roshar, rescuing the tiger. And then
he invents guns.
So he remembers that the Valorians have cannons and they make great use of artillery, but they don't have anything smaller. And he's like, well, what if I made a smaller version of a cannon? And so he spends another few months trying to design a gun, like a rifle, essentially. And he does it successfully, demonstrates it. And the queen is like, that's a really good idea. And then he immediately destroys the gun in front of them. The queen is pissed. And he's like, well, if you want to know how to build it, I guess you're going to have to help me.
Honestly, that's a pretty ballsy move because she like immediately checked his pretty privilege. It's like, okay, Aaron, I think like you think that everything is going to work out fine, but like literally it's not. And so he had to come up with some world altering. He made guns.
Yeah.
And she's still like, you did something, but it didn't rely on you being pretty. He's like, pretty privilege is still going to work out because I'm going to destroy it. And then you're just going to have to trust me. She's like, this motherfucker.
Do you remember the queen from The Trouble with Kings? The cool queen whose sister is trying to overthrow her?
Yes.
Pictured that chick.
100%.
But like a hot version. Like a Princess Jasmine version of that
hot version.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Yeah. Because she's for sure hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's happening in the background. In the meantime, Kestrel is in the capital. Her father comes back from a battle and her father is almost dead.
This scene is so sad. Because it's one of those moments. So Kestrel is up with the royal family. They're watching the procession of, troops come in. Her father's at the lead, and she can immediately tell that he's been like very brutally injured and like barely staying on his horse. And it's sad because he comes into the atrium entry area courtyard, and she runs to him and she goes to help him off his horse. And he's like, Kestrel, don't embarrass me. Like, what the fuck? And Kestrel's like, oh shit, like, not fair. And so she like can't embrace him, can't help him. And he like kind of stumbles into the, castle to talk with the emperor. And it's the first moment I think Kestrel has like her childhood checked almost, because she's never really been to the capital and she's always just lived in one of the colonies and she's been able to do whatever with her dad. But then it's like, no, Kestrel, like, I am a general of the armies. Like, you're going to be the future empress. Like, you're my daughter, but not right now. And it's just this like gut wrenching because it's like, oh, Kestrel has to grow up really fast. But it's like, your dad's injured and it's so sad.
But it's the right thing.
Oh, 100%.
It's the right reaction. And you so rarely get these realistic, appropriate reactions from like even secondary characters in this genre. It seems to be that a lot of the characters and the dialogue is written in such a way to either create an over dramatize the tragedy of a situation and make it worse for the heroine or the hero. But this is just reality.
Yeah. Because any other series, I think they would have, her father embrace her and it's like, oh my God, I missed you so much. And he's like, no, Kestrel, like, stop fucking acting up. Like, look at the people watching us.
So it would either be, emotional, of course I love you, daughter, come here. Or it would be like a complete violent, like, get the fuck away from me. Like, it would villainize the dad.
Yeah. Especially for the little bits that come up next, which just rip your heart out.
The general makes a recovery, and as a reward for his bravery in battle, the emperor, who's like close friends with him, like they were like young men together and like helped each other to their respective paths of power. The emperor gives him a very fancy wristwatch to wear.
That like chimes the time. I love because Kestrel's immediately like the emperor walks away after giving this gift and she's like, that's such a stupid gift to give like a military man that needs to be like silent during like tactical operations. It was such a fun observation. Like, yeah, Kestrel, that is true.
Because she's like, my dad would hate that. But like the general, Daddy Trajan.
Anyways,
he wears it for the sake of their friendship because he truly does value his friendship with the emperor. And this is important because Kestrel is kind of heartbroken over Aaron's departure and she just falls into depression.
Yeah.
Basically. So as Aaron is off, flirting with the Eastern Queen and making guns, Kestrel is playing her piano in her room all alone and feeling sorry for herself. And She gets a puppy and then gives the puppy away immediately.
Yeah. Oh,
She and Varix grow closer, and that's how she gets the puppy. So she helps Varix raise this litter of puppies, and he gives her one of them. But Kestrel, being Kestrel, notices that the Emperor notices her liking this puppy. She's like, this is a weakness and a vulnerability. I'm going to just give this puppy right away, because otherwise it's going to die.
Yep, it's going to be murdered.
Yeah. But the cool thing is her Daddy Trajan has never really supported Kestrel in her piano playing until...
So the piano room that Kestrel's been playing in has this like secret spy room behind it that you can't see except for little like holes poked in. And she like kind of goes and investigates when she hears off in the distance what she thinks is a chime. And she goes into the room and she's like, oh my gosh, like somebody was watching me. And then she realizes it was her dad, which like, oh, and she's like, oh my God, I'm just going to play all the time. Because wasn't it like her mom used to play and it's like too much for him to, oh God.
And so that's like their unspoken understanding is that he's going to listen to her piano playing from the hidden alcove and she's going to play. And so she does. She keeps playing. And in the meantime, this is where readers, we're about to take a very, very dark turn.
Yeah.
Aaron, as he's spending time talking to people in the Eastern lands, he runs into a group of refugees.
Yeah.
Right?
From the Eastern lands. And they kind of basically say, it's really sad that all of our horses died, but like the alternative was they would just burn our whole like homeland, and it sucks, but at least we're alive and our homeland isn't like totally destroyed. And Aaron has a that's so Raven, brilliant minds moment, and he's like, oh my God, Kestrel picked the lesser of two evils, and oh my God, she's the moth. Oh my God, I've made a mistake. It was just such a like, you're so lucky you're pretty.
It was such a corny, cartoonish, like, oh, I fucked up, didn't I?
Yeah.
So he gets on a boat and sails back to the capital.
Yep. How does Kestrel decide to write her tell-all memoir?
Well,
I don't really remember.
Funny you should ask. Kestrel is in her piano room playing the piano, and she hears the watch go off. So her dad's in the alcove, and she's having a grand old time. And then out of the fucking nowhere, Aaron slams into the room. Typical Aaron style, golden retriever. Hi guys, I'm happy to see you.
I love you again.
I love you again for the 5th time in 2 books. And she sees him walk in and she tries to stop him because you cannot see the entryway from the alcove. But he does not pick up on any of her subtle cues. And she starts giving more and more like obvious cues, like, stay the fuck over there. and he's like, no, I'm here for you. I love you. And so he's trying to question her. She's sitting at the piano. God bless Kestrel. She tried to play this off.
Oh, yeah.
Because she knows her dad's watching. Yeah. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, my man. Like, I don't love you. I'm getting married. How about you get the fuck out of my room? And she does like, she drops a pen and like trying everything. And Aaron just is not listening. And I forget how, I think it finally sinks in for him that she's not.
Yeah, because he has another like, I was wrong. You are a horrible, heinous bitch.
Yeah, like this is the exhausting part because he's like, I love you. Don't you love me? And she's like, no, man, still not.
Fuck off.
And he tries and tries and tries and finally gives up. Okay, well, I guess you don't really love me. This is the last time. This is your last chance, Kestrel. Yeah. And she's like, okay, fine.
You're gonna get you on.
And he stalks off and he leaves and he goes to see Tenson. And then she hears the chime and she's like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble.
My dad was there. Because, okay, so at a baseline, how fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then also you add in all of the like treason. Who knew?
Because she knows her dad well enough to know that he's going to go right to the Emperor. And like, daughter or no daughter, like this is treason.
Yep. And then it gets a little bit more treason-y and a lot more depressing.
So in response, like after this whole interaction, she writes the letter.
Yep. Kestrel is like, I am sick of all this shit. I don't care. I love Aaron. And she writes out in her own hand on a piece of paper all of the very illegal war crimey things that she has done against the Empire. And she is going to give it to Aaron so that he, sees.
She gives it to Tenzin.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
She's like, here, give this to Aaron. Make sure he gets it. Because Aaron's like, not around for some fucking reason. Not around when you need him.
Yep.
And this is such an anti-Kestrel move, but it fits because everyone's got a breaking point.
Yeah.
And this is Kestrel reaching her breaking point after being so strong and cold-blooded and ruthless for so long. She's like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the whole piano scene, that would be anybody's breaking point. Like, you have to, in the face of this very emotional, like, I love you, I see through you, she still has to hold on to this, like, fake, facade that she's been putting on. Facade, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, not facade. Woohoo. Like, that's a lot to that onslaught of emotions and love, and like, he actually gets it and you still have to tell him.
Back.
Yeah. From a place that nobody comes back from.
No. So she writes this letter, she gives it to Tenzin, and then she thinks everything's okay because she hears nothing from her dad, she hears nothing from the Emperor, and then she goes to see Tenzin. Yeah. Like in his rooms. Yeah. And she opens the door and Tenzin is dead.
Yeah.
Murdered.
Yeah.
On the floor.
And the letter is missing.
The letter's missing. And her dad and the Emperor are in the room. And her dad, I think, is the one who killed Tenzin.
Yeah.
And
it's one of those like, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah. This is.
It's just so sad though, because she's like, Daddy, I'm sorry. And he's like, Kestrel, there is nothing that I can do for you.
No. Which I love that this character, Daddy Trajan, stayed true to himself because
yes,
his character doesn't work any other way.
Mm-mm.
And it doesn't make him bad. Like maybe that's a controversial take.
I don't think so. Because I mean, if you just look from his perspective, the things that Kestrel has done is just like absolute treason.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you could explain it any other way. So like, what does it?
Treason
he can't do anything.
Seemingly for a romantic relationship.
Yeah, I would lose my goddamn mind.
If I was a parent, I'd be like, you're going to jail.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, there's no way I can get you out of this one.
And so the Emperor like says, out of respect for my long-term friend and his service, I cannot kill you because that would damage my relationship with him, which is also completely true and accurate. Like so many times, again, in this genre, you get, oh, we're going to murder you and have this like almost death scene and you get saved. No, the Emperor is very cold and casual. And he's like, if I kill my best friend's daughter, he's never going to forgive me no matter how true he's been to me.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide to ship Kestrel off.
Yeah, and then come up with this like horrible backstory to cover it up. And they say that Kestrel and Varix were so in love that they eloped and ran off into their honeymoon in the islands. But their whole game plan is in about like a month and a half. She's going to die of some tropical illness.
Yep. And she's actually been shipped off in like a slave caravan to go mine in the north, like the sulfur mines or something like that.
Yeah.
And so this book closes out with her on her way to prison.
To a work camp to die.
That's the end of book 2.
Yeah.
Book 1 and book 2 together are such a wild ride.
Seriously. Your emotions are not safe at any point.
And I will say that the first third of book 3
Bussin'.
Yeah.
Bussin'.
Nom.
After that, it's kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But the first part,
because everyone loves a good rescue.
Oh, 100%.
Like a downtrodden, almost dying.
No, oh my God.
I can't wait to talk about that part.
Because it kind of gives me vibes. Did you ever read Throne of Glass?
Yes.
Okay. Selena's rescued from prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's in a, horrible camp and she gets beaten and everybody's like, oh my God, who did this to you? We get all of that little nums in the beginning of book 3. That's why we're talking about this book so much, girl.
There's so much in here to love. The characters are so good. All of the characters are so good for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't like the characters, you have to admire how well they were created.
Yeah. And also, like, just another little hinty hint, Aaron doesn't know that she was packaged off and shipped to prison.
Because he loses his fucking mind and he runs off to the Easterlands again to go, I don't know, hit on the queen.
Yep. So just imagine the stake to the heart when he hears that, Kestrel has run off to go be married and eloped, and we'll leave the other little tidbit.
Oh my God, how he finds out that you...
Oh my God. Anyways.
This was a lot of random noises. Okay, that was The Winner's Crime by Marie Rutkowski.
What's the third? The Winner's Kiss is
The Winner's
next?
Kiss.
Anyways. From our shelf to yours.
We will see you on the next page.
Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.